No, not even close. Net neutrality lost, which kind of sucks. Like it's not that big of a deal. Like we survived however long without net neutrality. 2014, I think it was legislated. I don't know if I'm using that word right. Legislated in 2014, I think. But it's just causing competition between internet service providers, which didn't really need to be there in the first place. Like, it's not that big of a deal, but now it's just a big inconvenience for the next few months. It's just kind of annoying, to be honest. And considering that all of the soy boy states, like California especially, are suing the FCC for what they've done. So, anyone stupid enough to think that this was a good idea, deserves ridicule, honestly. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing now, but we're not going to be leafy, we're going to be respectful. Although I will be honest, I'm completely petrified of going against this man and his followers, because he looks like he bought the collector's edition and all the DLC to the Game of Life.
Oh boy. I imagine this video is going to get a lot of dislikes, but I'd rather be disliked than dishonest.
And I'd rather that you dress up as a pirate more often. I like it.
Bulletberry quite recently uploaded a video about net neutrality. Now, if you don't know who Bulletberry is, he does content vaguely similar to mine, except he's been doing it longer and he's, shall we say, popular. Anyway, in his video, he says a lot of things that are misleading or just downright incorrect.
Oh, yeah. Should have said before, this is the first part of this video is going to be fucking enormous, and I'm sorry. This video, it's a response video to another response video. Yeah, that's right, we're doing this shit again. Oh god.
So I'm going to go through and correct them. But first, I'm going to do something I haven't done before. I'm going to talk about the thumbnail for his video. Now, Bulletberry's thumbnails are usually very high quality and look pretty awesome. But not this one. This one is actually very plain. But that's not my problem with it. My problem is the thumbnail is merely an alarmist thumbnail with little to no basis in reality.
This should be good. Oh yeah, I changed my shirt as well because the one I had on was disgusting and covered in cum stains, so, you know.
Here you can see it's the Google homepage, except, oh no, it says net neutrality is going to die, with a $50 price tag to search it. I'm going to assume that this is an exaggeration, that Barry doesn't actually think Google is going to start charging money to use their search engine, because that would be retarded.
And also has nothing to do with net neutrality either. You either purposefully misread the thumbnail, or you spent less than 3 seconds actually thinking about what you were going to say about the thumbnail, because you're not stupid. Like, you know what he means. Like, search engines have nothing to do with net neutrality. The point is that internet service providers will make you charge extra money for using certain websites, which net neutrality stops them from doing.
If they did start charging, people could and would switch to another search engine, such as DuckDuckGo.
Net neutrality has nothing to do with search engines. Do you not know what you are talking about?
Below that, it says, you don't have the free internet package. Click here to get it. I honestly don't know what to make of this. What is that supposed to mean, Barry?
Okay, allow me to explain this. I'll explain my interpretation of this masterpiece. Net neutrality dies, and internet service providers all around the country decide in their offices, wringing their wrists evilly and cackling about how they're going to make people pay to use Google. That's what it is. Net neutrality stops them from doing that. But now they can do that if they want, since net neutrality is dead. So yeah, like your internet service provider could say, okay, you need to pay an extra $20 to have the priority package or the free internet package or whatever they called it in that thumbnail. So it's just saying it has nothing to do with the search engine itself. It's saying that internet service providers are allowed to charge for extra services now. And by extra services, like faster speeds. And I'm not talking about bandwidth, I'm talking about actual priority internet, if that makes sense. Like, I'll draw a diagram for you. Okay, so in this amazing high definition quality diagram I've made, okay, you see there are 3 people, right? Let's say the person in the top is some like countryside person with shit internet because the countryside has shit internet. So the middle person is someone who lives in the city, just pays for his internet, you know, and the person at the bottom is, say, a company who needs really fast internet for their servers. This is what the internet looks like with net neutrality. This is what the internet could look like without net neutrality. As you can see, the guy who pays for 50 megabits per second has way faster internet than the company who has the big expensive servers, because the data is actually being sent and being prioritized faster, like despite the bandwidth. Let's say I'm the CEO of an internet service provider, and my best friend who I've known since childhood sells ice cream on the internet, okay? Let's say you sell ice cream as well, so you're competition to my friend, so I had nothing stopping me. Now nothing is stopping me from making people who access your website be really, really slow when they're accessing your website. And yeah, you could just say things like, oh, just get a new internet service provider, but that is way too much fucking around. Like, you shouldn't have to fuck around. Making sure that the people who you're hiring to give you internet access aren't corrupt. Surely. Well, you didn't have to, at least, like before, but now you might have to. And it's, like I said earlier, causing competition when competition really doesn't have to be there. Like, am I making sense, or am I just completely out of my mind? Am I missing some glaring obvious fact? Because I don't see it. I don't see the point in this. It's unnecessary.
Uh-oh, we're gonna have to start paying to access the internet. Which we already do.
Again, you're either putting no thought into this whatsoever, or you're lying to your audience. Nobody's saying that a free internet means that you don't have to pay for the internet. I'll stop myself from swearing because I'm trying to be a good boy. But no, when they say free internet, they mean you can access whatever you want when you're on the internet. Like, if I want to go on Facebook, fine, nothing should be able to stop me. If I want to go on Twitter, nothing should be able to stop me. I want to go on YouTube, nothing should be able to stop me. That's basically it. It's really not that difficult to understand.
Now, onto the video.
Everyone has one thing on their minds right now. Net neutrality.
I assume you don't mean literally everyone, because I was thinking about the video I was working on before this appeared in my subscription feed.
Of course he doesn't mean everyone on the entire planet. Like, a little Somalian kid who walks 20 miles to go and fetch some water isn't worrying about net neutrality in America, is he? No, silly. Silliness. And this is coming from a fully grown man with ears on his head.
This video I was actually quite enjoying working on and really want to do. And I can't wait to get back to it.
Then why are you sat there chilling out for big corporations? Why don't you make the video that you want to make? For views? A greedy Jew money? Oh god, that's gonna get me demonetized. Shit. Oh fuck. Oh shit, oh no, that'll get me demonetized as well.
It looks like no matter what we do, we're probably going to end up losing this fight.
Haha, for me, that'd be winning.
This is one of those moments when you'll win the battle, but you'll lose the war. You won't feel like a winner when, that's a worst case scenario, like I doubt any of this shit's going to actually happen, but you won't feel like a winner when you have to pay to upload YouTube videos. You have to pay extra, because that won't be very fun. Won't be very fun at all, trust me.
If you don't know what net neutrality is by now, it's essentially your internet freedom and a guaranteed freedom for everyone who uses the internet.
Wrong. Net neutrality means that internet service providers cannot discriminate between content, but it has no bearing on Google, YouTube, Facebook, and others who actively discriminate between other content, favoring their own and hiding dissenters.
Oh right, so you do understand what net neutrality is. So going back to the intro, you were being dishonest. Good to know. But the difference between social media websites censoring people they don't agree with and internet service providers doing the same is that, okay, I live in the middle of fucking nowhere, right? I have PlusNet and that's it. I don't have access to anyone else. Let's say Facebook is, let's say I'm on MGTOW and Facebook keeps deleting my posts. That's fine. I can go to Reddit. I can go to anywhere else. But let's say PlusNet. Let's say I'm a MGTOW and PlusNet's run by feminists who hate MGTOWs, and they start censoring me altogether, like slowing my internet speed down, slowing down the sites I like to visit. I can't do anything about that, can I? Giving internet service providers a free pass to censor whatever they want just because social media websites do it is the most totalitarian thing you can actually do without hurting anyone.
If I start a business, there's nothing stopping me from fulfilling my dreams.
Unless you want to start an ISP, because then the government will regulate your little business.
I fail to see how that's stopping you. Like, take this for example. These things are regulated, but the industry for them's booming. Is anyone going bankrupt? Are any e-cig companies going bankrupt because they're not allowed to put whatever they want in the liquids? No, of course not.
Take net neutrality away, and companies like Comcast and Verizon, companies I may potentially compete with, these pricks own the internet now.
Ah, yes, because having a multitude of ISPs own the internet is just so much worse than having almost the entire internet being under the control of Google.
Again, just because Google censors people doesn't mean that ISPs should be allowed to do the same.
And at a moment's notice, they could shut me down by making my site run slower, removing any ads that might make my site money, and even making my potential customers pay extra just to visit me.
Sounds very similar to the adpocalypse.
Yeah, and when the adpocalypse came around, loads of people migrated to VidMe. Like, we won't be able to do that with internet service providers doing the same shit. And again, just because Google does it, that doesn't make it okay.
Now, there have been people speaking up saying that these companies would never do anything like this, though we've literally seen them do it in the past.
Let me ask you something, Barry. What happened when people found out about Comcast and Verizon throttling Netflix? Answer: there was a huge backlash to the point where they had to stop. We're not saying that corporations would never do that. What we're saying is they'll never get away with it.
Again, we shouldn't have to do digging and research and all of this bullshit just to find out. They just shouldn't be allowed to do it in the first place.
But I wanted to address some of the apologists and see if the benefits of removing net neutrality can come close to outweighing the cons.
Oh, I'm an apologist now, am I? Well, according to the American Heritage Dictionary, no, I'm not. Since you're the one arguing in favor of net neutrality, you're the apologist.
A person who argues in defense or justification of something. If you're not arguing in defense of the removal of net neutrality, what are you doing? So yeah, you are an apologist.
I do want to let you know before I begin that I'm going to be very hard on this, but do know that there are some actual pros that I will be addressing near the end of this video.
And up until then, you will completely ignore them and act as if they don't exist.
That's better than lying to his audience.
So one thing you'll hear about the internet now is that there are enormous amounts of data being consumed without compensation, and this is true. Companies like Netflix stream movies and shows for a price, but applications like Kodi do the exact same thing for free. No money goes to the studios who then stream the movies, and the bandwidth is just used up for the theft of a movie. Now this sounds silly, but it's a true con, and if net neutrality went away, companies could and would shut free streaming websites down in an instant.
You want to give a citation? I checked the description of your video, and you have exactly 0.
Like, what the fuck, Barry? Why didn't you have evidence of something that might happen in the future? Jeez. God, what an amateur.
All you have is links to petitions. Arguments made without evidence can be dismissed without evidence.
But it wasn't really an argument. He's saying this might happen in the future. Like, he didn't put any opinions behind it. He just looked at what might happen and then said, this might happen in the future. Is that an argument? I asked my mom and she said, it's 1 o'clock in the morning and I should go the fuck to sleep and take those stupid ears off. Guess we'll never know.
But don't worry, this could allow Comcast to offer you its own really nice streaming service that now costs a lot more, cause what are you gonna do about it, you worthless piece of crap?
I'll switch to another ISP. Ending net neutrality will make it easier for competition to exist. And unlike you, I have links to my sources below.
And I think forcing competition in a market which every option is pretty much already the best one is a stupid idea. Like, what would be the point in purposefully making the options harder for yourself? Like, again, like, you shouldn't have to dig and do research and all this other bullshit just to get good internet.
Exactly. Next pro. There are businesses and companies that eat a lot of bandwidth, and as of right now, they pay nothing for that. When net neutrality goes away, these companies will have to pay extra for what they use, which is an awesome idea if you're an ISP that pays for all of that data right now. Let's say I'm Spectrum and a large organization uses a ton of bandwidth every month. I would have to pay for all of that, which, as a company that makes billions of dollars anyway, it just doesn't seem fair to me. I wouldn't be able to wait for the day that I get to keep all that money that I make and make a lot more on top of it from all these high-traffic businesses. You know, ones like Acklaz that host streaming servers for myself so I can play games with my subscribers. Or YouTube, a site that's never been profitable for Google, so why should they bother keeping it around after it absorbs even more money? But hey, at least all this money will make it easier for companies to install fiber all over the place. That'll be so nice when I can have access to faster internet. So long as I pay extra for it, of course.
I am genuinely confused as to what he's trying to say here.
I'm gonna be real here, so do I. But to my credit, I just kind of can't help but zone out after 5 seconds of listening to his voice, because he's not exactly very interesting. No offense, of course, Barry, but maybe you shouldn't have ignored me all of those times. Wow, that made me seem really petty. Like, that was meant to be funny, but jeez. I have nothing against you, Barry, I promise.
Is he saying that the more bandwidth you use, the more you're going to have to pay? Because if that's the case, why is it that cheap, unlimited data plans for smartphones exist?
Then there's the ability to slow whatever they want to down. See, Comcast owns Hulu, so if you have Comcast and you start to wonder why Hulu's so fast and Netflix is so slow, then worry not. It's only scummy business practice.
Yes, and we saw what happens when they try that. Massive consumer backlash.
Ah, so that makes it okay. All of the money that Netflix lost is totally fine. Who are you actually shelling out for here? I have no idea. Is it for big businesses? I know poor Netflix, but if it's for the people, like, the people don't get anything out of this. Is it the government? Like, I don't know. Are you a government official? Lizard in disguise? That explains a pirate costume. You trying to fit in, Lizard? I can give you some tips. Like, I'm almost integrated, I think. They'll never find me.
How is this a pro? Well, it's not. Almost none of these are.
Well, maybe if there was someone who, shall we say, was not insanely biased in favor of net neutrality, maybe then we could hear some actual pros.
So a totalitarian. A pro-censorship totalitarian.
Such as the repeal opening up the market for more competition.
Which doesn't need to be there in the first place, because an ISP can't prioritize every single user, so it's always going to lose some people because they don't have the best package. Internet service providers at the moment have to give the best deal to their customers, or else it's illegal, or it was illegal, but now it isn't. So it's best for the ISPs because nobody can one-up you. It's better for the consumers because you know you're not getting ripped off. It's better for everyone. Like, how... I don't understand where these anti-people are coming from. Anti-people? No, what? Oh shit, it is actually 1 AM. Fuck, I said that as a joke, but look at this shit.
Which is always better for the consumers.
No, it isn't. Before net neutrality, it's you can either go with this ISP or this ISP. They're selling at this price, they're selling at this price, but all of you like your internet isn't actually going to be any faster or slower, like except for the bandwidth. If you get 20 megabits per second with someone like Sky or PlusNet, it's going to be the same 20 megabits, like no matter who you go with. But now you can either be completely ripped off, or maybe only a little bit ripped off. How is that good for the consumer? That isn't good for the consumer at all.
Or how about making it easier for small mom-and-pop type ISPs to compete?
If a small company can only get off its feet by ripping off its customers, laws shouldn't be in place to help those companies succeed. Fuck those companies. They don't deserve to succeed.
This will only limit our choices of what sites we can and can't visit. As consumers, we'll actually have no freedom of decision at all depending on which ISP we choose, or whichever one is in your area. Some places may have Comcast, some places only have Charter. This means your freedoms are limited twice as hard. Sucks for you, doesn't it?
I find it difficult to believe that. If one ISP is limiting what their customers can see, another will move in to fill that gap in the market.
You boast about how great your sources are for this video. Where's your source for that? Because my area only has one ISP.
That's what generally happens in an open market. Also, it's cute that you seem to think that Google and YouTube aren't already limiting what you can see.
Again, just because Google does it, that does not make it okay.
The next pro is freedom of speech and expression are probably going to go away.
No, there's no other way to say it. You're wrong for the reasons I've already laid out.
That's right, no other way to say it. You're wrong. Okay, jokes aside, freedom of speech probably isn't going to go away, but net neutrality was there to stop that from ever becoming the case. Like, if your internet service provider wants to completely shut down your freedom of speech, they can now. Like, that's not saying it's going to happen, but now they can if they want to. Like, that shouldn't be in their control. Like, a private organisation should not be allowed to dictate what you can and cannot post on the internet. I'm not talking about individual websites either. If incels.me wants to ban me for being too masculine and too handsome and too devilishly charming, they can go for it. But an internet service provider should not be allowed to dictate what I can and cannot post on websites that have nothing to do with them. Like, it's a private organisation. Having control over censorship is totalitarian. That is not libertarian at all. There is nothing for the people about what you are saying. You're arguing for internet service providers to make a quick extra buck at the expense of people's personal liberty and freedom. Or is this just crazy liberal social justice speak? Because I hope not, because I'm not even left-wing.
Which is massively convenient. See, there are sites all over the place with questionable content. Things that some may find offensive and might actually be. I, for one, wouldn't mind if sites that house child porn to be shut down, but will it stop there? Or will political view be something deemed questionable?
And will it be demonetized and hidden from your subscription feeds? You probably don't think this, but it sounds like you think that ISPs are all evil corporations, and Google, Facebook, and the rest of their ilk are all just nice guys who just want what's best for you and would never do you wrong.
You are the one who keeps bringing up Google. Bullet Barry has not mentioned Google once in this because search engines and companies who operate on the internet have absolutely fuck all to do with net neutrality.
Will political decision, social justice, how far will this go?
Do I detect a slippery slope?
Yeah, you do, but I also want to bring up the fallacy, which states that just because something's a fallacy doesn't make it incorrect. Censorship is always a bad thing, no matter how you want to shape that. Being pro-censorship is being against the freedom of speech. There's no other way around that.
Well, I guess you'll just have to wait and see.
Yep, definitely slippery slope fallacy.
Fallacy.
It's like a surprise. Doesn't that sound wonderful? Along with that, free internet access is probably going to go away.
Ah, yes, probably. The most convenient of words. That way, if you're wrong, you can say, well, I just said probably. Well, Barry, you're probably wrong.
If you don't know, there are internet plans for those who cannot afford internet, which is nice, but wouldn't it be better if that didn't exist? Screw helping people out. Instead, what is going to happen is certain sites could cost more money to visit. Imagine Steam. In order to play games on Steam, you gotta pay $20 a month, as well as $50 a month for fast enough internet to play these online games. And if you want really fast internet that'll never bog down on any site, just pay the $150 a month package. It's so much easier to do that, and the internet is a lot faster than all your friends, so at least you'll have something to brag about.
Or you could switch ISPs.
Or you could vote for net neutrality to stop all of this nonsense happening in the first place.
See, the thing is, if Valve has to pay more to keep Steam working properly, then the consumer may have to share in some of that spending.
It's rather amusing that as he goes down another slippery slope in his argument, the characters in his gameplay also go down a slippery slope.
I like how you're dressed as a pirate.
For example, maybe no more Steam sales. If Netflix has to pay more to keep itself alive, we have to pay more for it monthly. And this is along with the new things that we could be paying for.
If, could, probably, perhaps. I'm still waiting for some actual proof, Barry. I need a bit more than ifs, maybes, and possiblies.
I'm sorry to break it to you, but that evidence is never coming because you can't really prove something that hasn't happened yet. Granted, most of it's hyperbole and bullshit anyway, but asking for evidence in this scenario isn't really making you look as smart as you think it is. Like, what would be smart is if Barry turned around and gave you evidence. Like, granted, that would be pretty funny.
That I mentioned before. I guess this is a pro because we're keeping the rich rich, and that's a good thing because they're happy.
I don't have a problem with rich people being rich. I think that's the best kind of rich person, but the only person that the repeal of net neutrality actually benefits are the rich owners of internet service providers.
I mean, that's all we care about, right? Their happiness?
I've heard exactly 0 people say that, whose names did not rhyme with Mullet Larry. Is this some poor attempt at humor?
Yes.
Or are you now constructing a straw man?
In order for Bullet Barry to be constructing a straw man, or let's say attacking a straw man, that's the correct term, he needs to actually be misrepresenting what the other side is saying, and then attacking this misrepresentation. He's not. He's making fun of the idea that net neutrality is only harming rich people, and that getting rid of it will only benefit rich people. That's not a straw man. We can call later on Discord in my server if you need these words explaining to you. I'll use small words, and I could probably draw some pictures for you as well, if that's what you need.
Now you may be sitting there thinking, Barry, why are you saying that net neutrality is going to die? We have the power to change things, don't we?
No, I'm thinking, Bullet Barry, your videos are usually well-researched, thought out, and backed up by evidence. What happened?
I'd say the same, but I really don't think that about either of you, so...
Yeah, totally. All you gotta do is call your politician. They want what's best for you. They want to make your life better. They don't care that ISPs have always had their hand on the government's pants and is gonna make them rich if they make the right call here.
Nope, still no sources.
I looked for some evidence behind that statement as well, like a source, anything, and I couldn't find anything either, so Barry probably is talking straight out of his ass.
No, what? Who mentioned a bribe? I sure didn't. See, the FCC even said that all of us screaming about not passing the bill isn't going to do anything anyway.
Could it be? Hallelujah! A source! I'll link it along with mine. Basically, what this article show is saying is that 98.5% of people who have commented on this are against the repeal, and it links to a study. So I clicked on the link, and I read the study, and it says no such thing. It talks about the difficulty of verifying these comments as legitimate, meaning one comment from one real individual rather than from a dozen fake accounts. It then gives a bunch of different filters they used, such as verifying addresses or eliminating fake email generators, that yield widely different results. Basically, Barry's one source thus far outright lied.
Okay, that is pretty funny, I will admit.
Well, Kielbasa, maybe the people writing the article just misread it, and I might give them the benefit of the doubt. Except that there's a summary at the bottom that clearly says 60.1% against the repeal and 39.5% for it. Where the other 0.4% is, I don't know. Does this still show the majority of people who have spoken up in the way studied being against the repeal? Yes. But not by near as much as claimed. Now, Bullet Barry didn't actually say this, but again, the article he used as his source did.
We can easily be ignored. What's more is the actions from these ISPs will be regulated, and every move they make has to be made transparent. But who thinks for a second that's going to change things?
I don't know if you're watching this, probably not, but could you explain to me why you think it won't change anything? Because that's actually pretty interesting.
It's going to start off seeming not that bad, and then as time goes on, one of these ISPs is going to make a big stride in a scary direction. After a time, that decision is going to be the norm, and
only if we allow it. The thing about transparency is, they'll have to tell us what they're doing.
And that's all well and good voting with your wallet and everything, but I only have one ISP in my area.
All the other ISPs are going to do it too. Then it'll happen again and again, and it's going to get worse and worse, and there's nothing you and I can do about this.
Ice level time!
Everyone's saying, call your politicians, they're the ones we need to convince. But I want to ask you what screams louder. 1 million people calling nonstop until this bill is passed, or a metric ton of money you'll get for signing a piece of paper.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything about bribery in your one source that has already lied.
You need sources that politicians can be bribed. I thought Barry was the biased one here.
These people think with their wallets, but hey, we can give it a shot. Let's see what happens.
We are now connecting you to the office of Representative.
The amount of snark.
Uh-uh.
How will I know? How will I know if he really loves me? I say a prayer.
Can I help you?
Hello?
Let me give you the email for a communications director, and you can send him an email and try to coordinate that if you'd like.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yes, I believe we call that lying. Not a good thing to do if you want me to believe what you're saying.
Well, you don't have a problem with big companies lying and ripping people off. Internet service providers doing the same. So, how come you don't trust Barry when he does it, but you trust ISPs when you know they will, and when they've fought for the ability to? That's what I want to know.
Hi, my name's Barry Allen. I'm a journalist from Bullets in the Magazine. Can I ask you a few questions about net neutrality?
What application are you with?
It's Bullets in the Magazine. It's a fairly new publication, and being that we're solely based online, we wanted to ask you some questions about net neutrality. Your thoughts on them?
Do you see the problem with this, Barry? You've now shown yourself willing to tell a lie when it's convenient for you.
Let's play that intro once again.
I'm going to assume that this is an exaggeration, that Barry doesn't actually think Google is going to start charging money to use their search engine, because that would be retarded.
And at a moment's notice, they could shut me down by making my site run slower, removing any ads that might make my site money, and even making my potential customers pay extra just to visit me.
Sounds very similar to the adpocalypse.
I'm sorry, what was all that about lying when it's convenient again?
I'm now forced to question whether or not you will tell lies in the future, or whether you've told lies before.
Yeah, me too.
Who knows, maybe Infinite Retro was right about you viewbotting.
Just a reminder that all of this is because he lied about being a news reporter so he could actually talk to a member of the government. Just keep that in mind. The same guy who lied in his intro. Like the first 30 seconds misrepresented the facts. Just keep that in mind, okay? As he carries on this little tirade. Subscribe to Infinite Retro, by the way. That guy's cool.
How do I know that you didn't just lie because it was convenient? Of course, I don't actually think that you did, for reasons I went over in videos previously. But there's the thing, I just can't trust you anymore.
I can't trust you either now. Like, I thought you were kind of genuine and honest, but no, it turns out you're just like everyone else, just trying to push their own bias and misrepresent facts to make it look like you're correct, when in reality you're not. Turns out you're just like everyone else, except with a pirate costume on.